Hey, how are you? My name is Mike, MikeStewart.ca. Welcome to episode 12, the first time home buyer's guide for Vancouver. Now in episode 11, we talked about the included and excluded items in the contract of purchase and sale. Today we're going to talk about the expiry date, which is in section 23, page 4 of the contract. So, do real estate offers here in Vancouver expire? Yes, 9 times out of 10, a real estate offer here in Vancouver will have an expiry date and time. So, second question, why do real estate offers expire? Well, the simple answer is this. Most people are not going to do anything unless they're given a deadline. And basically what an expiry date does is it gives a deadline to the person receiving the offer or the counter offer, a deadline to take action. And the actions they can take are 3. The first action that somebody can take when they've received an offer or counter offer is they can accept that offer. And that would just be them signing off on the offer, saying it's okay, accepted offer. The second thing that can happen when somebody receives an offer or a counter offer is they can send a counter offer. So check out this scenario. Buyer sends the seller an offer. Seller likes most of the offer except they don't like one thing. They change that one thing, they initial it, they send it back to the buyer. That is a counter offer. Now a buyer or a seller receiving an offer or counter offer can always send a counter offer before the expiration date. That's totally acceptable and happens all the time. Now very often when an offer is being sent, a counter offer is being sent, the expiration date and time will change to give the group receiving that counter offer sufficient time to deal with the offer. So the third thing that can happen before the expiration date is this. The buyer sends the seller an offer. The seller doesn't like anything about the offer. They don't respond. The offer expires. The seller is allowed to do this. The seller is not obligated to send a counteroffer. Likewise, buyer sends the seller an offer. Seller sends a counteroffer back to the buyer. Buyer doesn't like anything about it, doesn't want to respond. The buyer is fully within their rights to not respond to a counteroffer. Okay? Now, question: what happens if somebody doesn't respond to my offer or somebody doesn't respond to my counteroffer? In a negotiation for property here in BC, you can always resubmit an offer or a counteroffer. That's totally acceptable, it's totally fine. So say for example, buyer sends the seller an offer. Seller says, no, I'm not going to respond. Doesn't respond, offer expires. Buyer can change the offer to make it more acceptable to the seller and resubmit it. No problem, happens all the time, totally fine to do this. Likewise, buyer sends seller an offer. Seller doesn't like it, sends buyer a counteroffer. Buyer says, you know what, I don't like that counteroffer, I'm not going to respond. Offer expires. Seller decides, you know what, I want to change my offer, make it a little more attractive to the buyer, I'm going to resubmit my offer. You can always resubmit an offer and you can always change that expiration date if both sides mutually agree. So, my name is Mike Stewart, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for episode 13, the first time home buyer's guide for Vancouver, where we're going to talk about subject clauses. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, I'd love to hear them in the form of a comment down below, or email me at mike@mikestewart.ca. Thank you very much for watching, we'll speak to you soon.